ready, my asylum patients? Gothic Slenderman. On the night of June 9th, 1912, the Moore family, consisting of 6 children and 2 adults, were murdered in their home by an unknown killer wielding an axe. At first, this sounds like a prologue to an old horror film, but this is actually the story behind the Villisca Axe Murder House, located in Villisca, Iowa. As you would expect, the murder caused a national sensation, and while many suspects were questioned, and even trialed, the murder was still never solved. No one knows who did it, the motives behind the murder, and not a single lead for over 100 years. Ever since then, it's been believed that the spirits of this family still live inside their home in a limbo-like loop. Spirits have often been seen, and disembodied footsteps and indistinguishable voices have often been heard. However, what people talk about the most are the sightings of children, with EVPs and personal accounts indicating laughing followed by crying, as well as some children telling others to hide. If this were to be true, then it's possible then when the children do tell you to hide, they're either playing with you, threatening you, or, in my theory, are repeating the same events over and over. And when they're telling you to hide, it could be just an event of a child telling another to hide while the killer was in the house. Some believe that in the afterlife, if we're unfortunate that is, we'd have to repeat the worst event of our lives for the rest of eternity. This could be the reason why there's laughing followed by crying and advice to hide. It's their last moments repeated over and over. But that's just my theory. However, it doesn't stop there. Remember when I mentioned how there was no one convicted for the crime? These are a few suspects of the event during investigation. Sam Moyer was a suspect due to the fact that he often threatened to kill one of the family members before the massacre, but further evidence proved that he was innocent. Herney Lee Moore was also thought to be the killer. Despite his last name being Moore, he is not blood related to the Moore family. He was convicted of murdering his mother and grandmother with an axe several months after the Moore family was killed. His cases were very similar to that of the Moore family massacre, and he is the most likely candidate. Yet, it has not been proven whether or not he was the killer. There was a theory that Senator Jones hired William Blackie Mansfield to kill the Moore family. 2 years after the Villisca crimes, William had murdered his wife, father, mother-in-law, and infant child with an axe. He was arrested in 1916, yet he was released for lack of evidence, and later won a lawsuit he brought against Wilkerson and was awarded $2,225. Detective James Newton Wilkerson believed he had performed the murderous acts of the Moore family. However, a restaurant owner from Shenandoah identified Mansfield as the man he saw the following morning after the Villisca murders boarding a train to Clarinda. This man said he had walked from Villisca, but if that wasn't enough, it was reported that a Miss Vina Tompkins of Marshalltown was on her way to testify that she heard 3 men in the woods plotting to murder the Moore family in a short time before the killings. Frank F. Jones, an Iowa state senator, once had an implement store that Josiah Moore worked at for years, until leaving the job to open his own business. This new shop supposedly stole the business of Frank and even a successful John Deere dealership. It was also rumored that Josiah had an affair with Frank's daughter-in-law, but there's no evidence to back this up. Same goes for Frank attempting to murder Josiah's family. Reverend George Kelly moved to Villisca to work at a children's day service as a teacher. Kelly for the past couple of years was accused of peeping on women and asking them to pose nude for him. He was suffering from mental illnesses since his teen years and had several mental breakdowns. He was arrested in 1917 for the Villisca murders. Police obtained a confession from him. However, it followed many hours of interrogation, and Kelly later denied the confession. After 2 separate trials, he was acquitted, which is a fancy-smancy word for a get-out-of-jail-free card. The last suspect was Andrew Sawyer, a complete stranger who went up to Thomas Dyer, a bridge foreman in Burlington, Iowa, asking for a job the day after the murders. Thomas was already short a few men, so he hired him on the spot. Many crew members were afraid of Andrew due to the fact that he always slept with his clothes on and beside an axe, and always being anxious about being by himself. To this day, no one knows who performed the killings of the Villisca murder house. One thing is for certain, however. With the laughing, crying, and supposed sights of children inside the house reported for the past 100 years, the mystery will linger on, for better or for worse.
Sushi Malaya Amina Real.